everyone. Welcome back. It is the Dolly Doctor Podcast. This is an interesting one. I thought that we could do a bit of a dive on the Dolly Doctor from the early 80s, 90s, and 2000s. The topic came about in a roundabout way, but obviously we'll get to that in a second. Just wanted to check in and see that everyone's all good. I've heard from a lot of you this past week as to the last pod about being halfway through I'm over halfway now. It was halfway, wasn't it? Oh my gosh. The days are blurring. I don't even know where I'm at. I'm at day 49, so 50 tomorrow, being Tuesday when this pod releases. I am in an organised space right now, which is crazy. I am recording this on Monday. But also next week, I think I might have to hit anchors down on this weekly pod just because I have to go to Christchurch to meet my boss, which is super exciting for me because I haven't ever met my boss face to face. I've been with the company for 4 years and I've had multiple different departments I've coasted through, and I've had the opportunity to drive up to Christchurch from Cromwell to, just pop in and have a meeting with her, which is very exciting because she's flying down from Auckland. But yeah, I'm just trying to wrap my head around how I'm going to do this because I hate putting this on pause. It puts a damper on everything, and obviously you're all following me on this adventure right now, and I'd hate to hit anchors down just because of something like that. But I will be driving to Christchurch on the Sunday and hopefully coming back on the Tuesday. So I don't know. Who knows? I could actually record this in the hotel room. Really depends about the topic and if I can do it off the cuff or if I need to research like I did with this one. This is my Dolly Doctor podcast. It's relatively strange, I know. I feel like it's a bit of a flashback, and I've definitely thought about how I want to address these topics because the weirdest thing happened, and this came about in a weird way, so I thought I'd just loop you in. You know me, I definitely throw out the weird stuff. But last week, Taylor Swift's album dropped on Friday, the Tortured Poets Department. It was a double whammy. The whole world went wild. I was just excited to see the music videos where her and Travis were together. It was like a whole thing. But I was watching the news, and I think Taylor's released a vinyl record. And I was sitting there, I thought, that's all cool. And people are flocking to the stores to buy different vinyl records, not just her own album, vinyl in general. And I said to Mum, that's all good and well, but who's holding a vinyl record player in storage, or is this something that's come back into fashion? What's going on here? And she laughed. She's like, people do still own vinyl, and record players are definitely a big part of music. So it's something that's still in the air. And I thought, that's cool. There's probably only one vinyl record that I would be super happy to ever own, and that would be the Spice Girls. I am from that generation where they were definitely the best thing. I still have a couple of Impulse cans, a couple of t-shirts, some platform shoes. My grandfather in the UK sent me the Ginger Spice Barbie doll, so I still have that. And I was always compared to Ginger Spice, very outrageous and a bit of attitude. But also the photos, that was a massive vibe. And I'm not sure if it was because you had your pocket money, you used to go to the news agency, pay your $5, get your little envelope of random photos where you felt like you were there. It was before social media, and it was definitely a way to see the Spice Girls in their own environments and how they would get dressed for different concerts, how they would perform. It was so special. And I don't know, I was just sitting there and I said to Mum, I'll see if I can find my Spice Girls box. It's in storage. And lo and behold, in the same box as all the memorabilia was my Dolly magazines. And I just sat there and I was like, why am I keeping this? You don't keep magazines. Well, I keep a lot of things, and it just became really obvious that we definitely moved along in the sense of body image and all the types of weird things that come with growing up. And it was interesting because I didn't think that this could be a podcast. What people experienced in the early 90s and 2000s, they wrote into someone. They didn't used to Google. I don't know if Google was a thing. there was a sealed section, and I don't know. It was kind of like a safe space where you could talk about anything. I did find out that the Dolly magazine was an Australian bi-monthly teen magazine that started in the 1970s. It was mostly in Australia and New Zealand, and the magazine actually ceased copies in December 2016. So that's a fair chunk of time where it was considered, I don't know, something that the teenage girls of Australia and New Zealand would be buying. And I think they were $4.60 for a magazine is what I was reading on the cover the other day. And I thought, wow, I'm pretty sure they were monthly. And I actually can't really remember how I got into this, but I just remember when I used to finish primary school, we used to go around to the local library and wait for Mum. And there was a couple of days, obviously you'd go and you'd flick through some magazines while you're waiting and everything else. Maybe it was just one of those situations where one day the librarian popped out a Dolly magazine and I was the first to notice that the sealed section hadn't been opened. But no, I thought about this the other day. I was like, what's the word? It's you haven't rented or you haven't hired the magazine, but you've just taken the magazine from the library. I don't know. It was weird. Anyway, it was issued to me for about a 2-week period. And I remember my mum was dating this guy who had a daughter that was 4 years older than me. And she had obviously started all the body and the puberty things going on. And she taught me to shave my legs. It was like a whole thing. Useless information for you, but there you go. But anyway, I remember going back to her place as, we were growing up, and I peeled back the sealed section and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm 13 years old. What is going to be in here? I can't say that it was like being in a sex ed class where you had to like learn different things and what was normal and what was not. And do we even say normal anymore? Like, I don't even know. But I don't know. It started this snowball. And what was really funny was throughout like my early teens and picking up the Dolly mag, I would be really into like health and beauty and skincare and all those kinds of things that were in this teen mag. My mum's best friend, who looked like Patsy from Absolutely Fabulous, she passed away in November 2020. She used to buy NW magazine, which was all the Hollywood gossip. And it's funny to think that, even though I was a young little duckling in my teenage years, I was still really catching my breath with how to like apply skincare and makeup and all those things. And yet in my ear, I had my mum's bestie, nat, about celebrity news. And we used to catch up kind of once a fortnight and just, talk about what was going on in the world and everything else. And I truly believe that it set me up for entertainment news and gossip, and how I still enjoy skincare and makeup and hair and outfits and stuff today. It comes back to Dolly magazine and how it was a safe space. But actually looking through these articles and whatnot people were writing in about, it was quite overwhelming and shocking to think, holy moly, this is something where people felt like they were safe to talk about. But what they probably didn't know is that I've written a few things down. So each month readers would submit their nagging, sometimes pretty big concerns with their bodies, relationships and sexual health to the magazine, and a legitimate medical professional would share some words of wisdom. There are letters from girls as young as 13 wondering whether they should take diet pills, 16-year-olds who are convinced they'll never find love because they haven't had their first kiss, and teenagers all across all ages dealing with feelings of anxiety or depression. There was always a medical professional at the other end of the Dolly Doctor pen. What was interesting, and what I'm just reverting to, is that the Dolly Doctor was actually a male. He was the first to hold the title. His name was John Wright, and from 1993 it was then transferred to Melissa Kang, who was a female. The Dolly Doctor's advice was always factual and helpful, even if a few extra words of guidance were left out. When you consider the channels teenagers have to learn about sex and their bodies, Dolly Doctor was considered a trusted source. Was the advice any good? Let's take a step back in time to the 90s, where teenage girls' worries about sex and health could not be answered by incognito Google searches, and Dolly Doctor was there to fix it all. Crazy. The first one that was quite a bit of a I don't even know. This was not in order, but I sat down on Saturday and I started going through all of this with post-it notes, and I pulled some of my favorite questions in just to sort of drum up a bit of understanding for you guys that this is what we were dealing with, which isn't a bad thing. It's just we're getting educated, which is fine. What's really crazy is that I don't know if the 13-year-old girls, I was 13 at the time, I think. Yeah, I think. Was these are crazy. I'm a 15-year-old girl who was in love with a 26-year-old man. I'm scared I'm pregnant. In Dolly's January 91 issue, the doctor gets real on questions about your first time, whether that be having sex or getting pregnant by a man 9 years older than you. We've had sex a couple of times, now I'm scared I'm pregnant. I've missed 2 periods, one 15-year-old reader writes about her 26-year-old boyfriend. To the credit of the doctor, they offer helpful guidance on what to do, but there's one glaring issue left out. Why is a man in his mid-20s dating a young teenage girl? Perhaps a modern edition of Dolly Doctor would include some choice advice on grooming, but if I've learned anything from 90s films, age gap relationships weren't as contested as they are now. So maybe it was something that was quite common back then, but did we coast over it, or were we ignorant, or where was this girl's family? I'm pretty sure if your parents knew that, someone would have stepped in. It's exactly that. It's choice advice on grooming. It's people would go to jail for that these days. I don't know. I don't even know. My boyfriend can't find a condom that fits. It has been many teenage girls' unfortunate rite of passage to meet a boy that reckons his penis is too big for every single condom on the market. Isn't that just such an age-old taboo? Of course, the Dolly Doctor has seen it all before. Condoms come in a range of sizes and shapes, so it's very unlikely that they could not find a condom which could fit your boyfriend. Maybe you haven't read the instructions on how to use the condom properly, or maybe he has missed a few sex ed classes with the banana in his days. I don't know. I'm 14 and I have a rather embarrassing problem. Every time I laugh, I wet my pants. Oh dear. I put my jumper around my waist to hide it, but it smells. Oh, far out. This is called stress incontinence. You should notice that when you should also notice when you cough, sneeze, or exercise. It's unusual in a girl your age, but suggests a problem with the shape of your bladder. What? What would be? Am I born with a rectangle bladder, and some people have circles? The most effective way of fixing it is an operation. Whoa, that's serious. It's just my friends are so funny, so I've peed myself a little bit, but I could have an operation to stop it. That's crazy. And it does go on to say there are several things you can do to help yourself. Try to keep your bladder empty, which completely goes against what we all know and trust about having 7 glasses of water a day to keep hydrated, I suppose. Is it possible to catch AIDS from a public swimming pool? My mum won't let me go to the local pool because she says she's certain I'll catch AIDS. What? This is from 1993, so it does say that very close personal contact and infection via contaminated blood, such as from another person's needles, is the most common way to catch AIDS. But from a parent, I would say that this isn't because, probably just from parents these days, maybe. Is it the mum saying that you can't go to the pool because you've developed and they don't want you in a swimsuit? I don't know. I think there's more to that question. Mum's getting a bit antsy because her daughter's growing boobies. I really like chunky black shoes, striped socks up to your knees, and big shorts. What's big shorts? Is that clots? But when I wear them to school, people laugh and start teasing me. I really hate this. Oh dear. Isn't that interesting that, someone's very upset because they can't wear what they like, yet these days everyone has their own, fashion sense. No one ever gets doubted on it. Everyone just wears what they want. Sometimes you get addressed. My mum says it to me all the time. I have this teddy jacket which is cropped, and she's like, Danny, I know you love your teddy jacket, but it's not Like, it doesn't look right because you're so long in the torso. And I'm like, I know she means well, but like, I thought it was fashion. So I just think that obviously someone was getting teased at school, and I would never have thought back in my like primary and intermediate days, if we had a mufti day, that I had ever thought about anyone giving me grief about what I was wearing, let alone someone that actually went to a public school that got to wear mufti all the time, that, you know, the teasing was, or even still is, pretty bad. Yeah. I'm 14 years old and I've heard that wearing a bra while my boobs are developing will cause them to sag. I feel more comfortable wearing a bra, but this has discouraged me. Oh, what? Isn't it the other way around? If your boobs are developing, you have to wear a bra because you could have like prolonged life effects that they would sag? I don't know. I feel like I was a very late bloomer myself, but when it happened, it happened, child. And we were straight down to the Triumph Bra Factory in Wynnum in Brisbane to get fitted. And yeah, I've had back pain ever since. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, look, that's crazy. I would obviously hope that the doctor had come back and said, you know, it does actually say if you suddenly lose weight when your boobs are developed, sagging is common, but not from your boobs developing and nothing else changing. I have an irritating itch in my throat after giving my good friend's boyfriend a blowjob at the movies. Jesus, take the wheel. I'm scared to tell my mum, as she is friends with my boyfriend's mother, and I'm sure he will find out about what I've done. Is there such a thing as throat thrush? It's flared up about 2 weeks ago and has since returned. I'm 15. Oh. It actually says oral sex means stimulating each other's genitals with your mouth or tongue. Although oral sex is normal sexual activity practiced by many people, there is a risk of spreading some sexually transmitted diseases such as gonorrhea, Hep B, and possibly AIDS. Often there are no symptoms of such infections, but a sore throat may occur. There's probably so much you can catch by touching your best mate's freckle, 20 years on. Like, that's such a good on you for thinking you can write it and talk in a safe space, Dolly Doctor, about that. But holy moly, stop touching your best mate's boyfriend. My friend has been taking tanning pills. Lord, what the heck? As if they were lollies. Can you give me some information on them and tell me if they have side effects? What was a sun tanning pill 20 years ago? Oh, no, hang on, they've been taken off the market. Someone actually says, I guess that has to make you a little bit wary. There are still some available without prescription. They're not really tanning pills. They don't alter the sun's effects on browning. They pigment your skin a yellow-orange with no difference between areas exposed or not exposed to the sun. They often contain elements which are not necessary, zinc, copper, manganese, but not in sufficient amounts to cause harm. The yellow colour comes from a carotene compound which contains vitamin A. Excess vitamin A can cause general skin yellowing, like jaundice, including the palms of your hands and soles of your feet. If anyone I knew was taking tanning pills and had different colours on the palms of their hands and the soles of the feet, I would just say, look, rub that fake tan in harder because you're doing a terrible job. Not you actually consuming a tanning pill. I do know that there is a certain type of algae that is in streams that the salmon fish eat, and it actually makes their flesh a pinker colour. But I would never consume something that was going to tan me from the inside out. That's just crazy. There was a really big expose on the 8 different types of nipples in the world, which I thought was crazy because I actually Googled this, safe search on, but now there are 9 different types of nipples. Just your basic protruding, puffy, flat, inverted, unilateral inverted, bumpy, hairy, and supernumerary. It's crazy because protruding is obviously the few millimeters above the surface of the areola protruding. Puffy is when the entire areola and nipple area blend together to create a mound. Flat is if your nips are flat and blend into the areola and considered flat. Inverted, sometimes this is totally normal. The nipples retract inwards. Unilateral inverted. This one's crazy. If one nip is raised and the other is inverted, like Imagine if you got stimulated or sexually aroused and one of your nipples went hard and the other one went in. It actually says if this has always been the case, it's perfectly normal. But if you've noticed your nips have recently done this, it might be a sign to see the doctor. I'm not laughing, but I'm just like, imagine if you were getting the deed on with some new bloke and all of a sudden you look down and one of your nips was like in and the other one was out. Oh my God. It's totally common to have bumpy bumps on the areola surrounding the nipple. Everyone has glands on their nips, but some are bumpier than others. Side note, they do look like pimples. Don't try and squeeze or pop them. It's not going to be pretty. Lord. Hairy. Okay, it's super common to have dark stray hairs growing out of the areola, whether they are fine or coarse. Give them a pluck. Of course, you can keep the hairs if you want. Your body, your rules. I have seen this on like embarrassing bodies. She pulled a nipple hair and it started bleeding profusely, and actually a vein came with it. I'm sure a vein came out of her nipple or something. It was horrific. And I have seen a woman that died of sepsis because she plucked a ingrown hair in her nipple, and it was terrifying. I don't have hairy nipples, PSA, but I just do not condone. Like, if you have a hair on your nipple and you question it and you want to remove it, go see a doctor. Like, honestly, no, child, no. Supernumerary is some people, like Harry Styles, have an extra teeny tiny nipple, often referred to as a third. They either look like flat moles or have fully formed raised bumps. I mean, the only person I know that had a third nipple was Chandler off Friends. A nubbin. It was a nubbin. I would never say to someone, hey guys, I've got a supernumerary. It's my third nipple. It's a nubbin. Rein it in, Danny. Jesus. Real talk. Okay, so big segment on snail trails. They are normal for girls. Oh, are they? There was a girl in our high school. She had a pretty significant snail trail, but she waxed it and she took pride in her snail trail. I wonder where she is these days. Check your bodysuit. These clothes may be irritating your vajayjay. So anything from coloured underwear, wet swimsuits, non-cotton underwear, G-bangers, sweaty active wear bodysuits, cotton undies, dirty PJ bottoms, tight pants are going to give you an upset vajayjay. I don't think that they should have been putting into verbatim that if you decide to go commando when you're sleeping, make sure you're being hygienic about it. Don't wear the same PJ bottoms night after night because your vag may make buddies with old bacteria. No. I mean, they say not to wear undies with bodysuits, and I was just like spiraling. I mean, I am 6'3" and I love wearing a good bodysuit because you feel like you're all kept together. Like, I don't know, they make you feel skinny and sexy, but I would never, I don't even know how to wear a bodysuit without undies. It's weird. But yeah, it does say if you do want to wear a bodysuit, it's probably a good idea not to wear underwear with it because that'll just make your nether region hot, damp, and perfect for an infection. No. What? Hey doc, I'm extra gassy during my period. Lord help me. Totally normal, says Dolly Doctor, because of the hormonal shifts that happen during your period. Stay away from foods that might make it worse, such as broccoli or cabbage. Good to know. 20 years on, that still hasn't changed. There was this really fun thread that happened just before the publication ceased, and that was what's a minor yet annoying problem with your body. If you guys need to check this out, it's crazy, but the girlfriend.com.au still has a Dolly Doctor section, even though the publication stopped, so you can go on the website and check out all this. Okay, it's going to be controversial, but big boobs. I hate them. They aren't a real issue, but have brought me nothing but annoyance. So ladies, next time you're wishing for your chest to be bigger, just know that means slight back pain consistently for your entire life. Yeah, I get that, totally. I always wished I was one of those people that could eat anything and not gain any weight. Unfortunately, I'm the kind of person that licks an apple and gains 5 pounds. Yes, I used to be that person. I look at rice and think, oh my God, it's going straight to my ass. I can't handle spicy food at all. A little too much pepper and I get a runny nose. My face turns red. My eyes start watering. Plus, I have a very fast digestion, if you know what I mean. Preach, child. I know. I have nothing to say to any of these because I'm like, whoa, this is like talking to me. Sometimes after sitting on my ass, what? Or on my knees when I stand up, my left knee decides it can't support my body weight right away and gives out for a couple of seconds. My first few steps after that initial stand up are usually limped before it corrects itself. Guess what? That doesn't change with age. It's just one of those things you need to obviously put more strength into those types of sitting to standing positions. I'm hypersensitive to caffeine, which makes me so miserable at certain times. My favourite drink at Starbucks is a matcha latte, but just a medium is going to make my heartbeat double its regular speed and make my hands shake like hell. I also get hyper in a bad and stressful way. Can't even enjoy a latte without suffering. I mean, that's kind of like my mum. I always waft a espresso martini under her nose and she just won't take the bait. I don't even think she's ever tasted a Red Bull or a V. Those types of things just don't interest her, and she gets nervous that her heart's going to beat out of her chest. My body is determined to have a unibrow. It's a never-ending battle. Get those tweezers. No, honestly, go and see someone at like a clinic that can start the process to stop having a unibrow. Unibrows are in fashion, though. To think someone wrote that in and thought that was something to be worried about. My big toenails are ingrown on both sides, so get infected and sometimes just annoying in general. I have been there, done that, got the t-shirt to prove it. I've had 3 surgeries across both feet for ingrown toenails. I went through this phase in 2000 where I wore 2 smaller school shoes to high school, and I got really bad ingrown toenails. And I think one day, I think this was karma, but we had a fake ID, and obviously I always looked 18 even though I was 13. I was in a liquor store with my friend, and I think I kicked a step in the freezer room, or I kicked a slab of beer, and it knocked my ingrown toenail and it bled everywhere and there was blood all up the wall. And still to this day we still laugh about it because I was like, fuck, what a mess. But I have kicked the doctor in the face when they tried to administer the antiseptic to start the process of the surgery with an ingrown toenail. So one piece of advice I would probably give about toenails and ingrowns and stuff like that: if you cannot trim or get a pedicure yourself, pay someone to do it, because honestly, it's not worth the pain and suffering of ingrown toenails if you can prevent it. Mine was a weird situation where I wore the incorrect school shoes because it was fashion. But no, it was terrible. My nails grow really fast, and when I have to do the dishes, my nails get all soggy and they fall off easily. What? I have to cut them once or twice a week. My gosh. What even is that? How do people get nails like that? I have nothing to say to that. It's just crazy. Teenagers of Dolly Doctor, what's the biggest current problem you are facing? And adults, why is that problem not a big deal these days? The group of people I've enjoyed hanging out for the past few years is slowly falling apart. I'm too anxious around new people to make new friends, so I'm stuck desperately trying to hold my friend group together or be alone. I don't really have friends, I just have people I socialize with. An adult came along and said, as you get older, you get to choose more and more the people you want to be around. This means there's much higher likelihood of being able to find people that share the same interests and values as you do. Keep a lookout for groups of people that you can maybe click with in the future. Additionally, friendships sometimes have an end, and that's not a bad thing, it's just life. Don't worry about any of this. In 10 years' time, they'll just be status updates if they're lucky. That is a fired up parent. Most generic problems teenagers are facing aren't a big deal, because when they grow up, they'll realize the world doesn't revolve around them, and they'll have plenty of time to sort their lives out and become happy. Seeing a 14-year-old child saying they've had their heart broken and never find a better boyfriend or girlfriend is terribly cringy. Yeah. No, life, when you start dating, I mean, kudos for you if you think you found the one when you're 14, but don't they all say that once you're in your 20s, that's when life really starts taking off? I've been bulimic for 6 years. My mother refuses to get me any help. I've tried self-recovery but failed, and my doctor told me my kidneys are beginning to fail. I mean, the adult hasn't even come back and said anything on that. That's just what it is, but the adult's not supporting that help cry. Isn't that crazy? Oh, it's terrible. Cyberbullying is just one. Cyberbullying is a big one. Just turn it off, my parents say. Problem is, just turning it off would be like shutting down half your personality. The parent says, wait till current teenagers and anyone in their 20s begin to run for any type of parliament. Every status, tweet, Instagram photo, MySpace, well, okay, Snapchat, and everything will come out in the wash. It's going to be horrible. The only winning move will be not to play, or not to like run for office in parliament. Child, how much harder finding a job is. I hate when people say you should be happy just to flip burgers. Now there's 40-year-olds doing that because the economy's shit and they're going to pick someone who has a kid to feed over someone who just wants some spending cash. That's so true. Don't limit the time on the computers to a crazy amount, like an hour a week. The world is revolving on social media, so don't let your kid be the one who doesn't get to experience technology evolve. If you think it's going to help your kid, it's just not. That's true. Things happen so fast, and it's kind of one of those trends that if you're not involved, oh dear. I actually came across one of my old high school teachers not too long ago, and I was chatting to him. He just interviewed someone for, I think he's actually a principal now, which is super exciting. And he came up to me and he said, oh, the kids these days are expected to do a hell of a lot with their time. Compared to when you were at school and you spent half that time getting drunk in the park with your mates. I was like, excuse me? So I wrote it down because obviously, like, back in the day, there was pressure to do after-school extracurricular activities, explore different types of studies. And I never got drunk in the field. I don't know why he was referring to that. Maybe it was the group of people that I was in at the time, which nowadays I look back and I'm like, they all have kids and like broken marriages and stuff like that from drinking in the park. Thank you very much. But it's funny because the kids these days, I don't have anyone in the demographic of high school that I'm reaching out for advice on about this. I truly don't know, but I can't see it as a compulsory thing for kids these days to do like violin class and learn an extra instrument or get extra credits for university or whatever. Like, I just don't even know. But my workmate who learned insurance with me here at the business I work for in New Zealand, she was super good at her job and she decided to go back into teaching, and she didn't last more than like a year before she was like just absolutely hell-bent on the fact that kids these days were crazy and she couldn't do it anymore. Weak? No. But obviously it is interesting to think the pressure of what we were going through back in those days and how it hasn't really changed. But there's so many more things that have been implied into classes in school these days and how 13-year-olds cope with different things. I took a lot away from reading up on these different bits and pieces, and it's interesting to think that so many things haven't really changed. I don't know. It's just like you fall down this rabbit hole of seeing how the world is evolving and people these days still have the same issues. I just hope that obviously kids that are bulimic, 6 years that person was bulimic for and the mum refuses to get any help. I don't think it's that they refuse to. They just aren't educated on the actual damage that it's doing to their child. I don't even, there's so many components to that. It's crazy. But obviously, isn't it so relevant today that cyberbullying is even still a thing? And we were the ones that put that into place, 20 years ago when we all started to use the internet. I think it's hilarious when you find flashbacks to MSN Messenger and chat rooms and stuff, and you think, holy shit, how unsafe were we being? You could talk to anyone and you still can. I still have snapshots from chat roulette from 10 years ago at my old flat in Povo Paddock with all the flatties. We thought it would be funny to join chat roulette and see what part of the world we'd end up talking to. And we weren't even that young and there was so much nudity. Isn't that crazy? But no, honestly, Dolly Magazine definitely helped pave the way for what I know now, and reading back on all these articles and just seeing all the different sort of ways around how we manage things. And there was all this stuff about makeup application and skincare and how we've evolved with the technology and everything like that. But general issues where, you were catching AIDS in swimming pools and your boobs weren't developing because you couldn't wear a bra. Like, are you kidding? Are you kidding? But no, I didn't want this to be like a sexualized pod. Probably because I'm not a really sexualized person myself. I definitely don't. I don't know. I'm not like that. So I kind of kept a whole lot of the whole, sexual stuff away and just kind of kept it to the relatable things that people were going through recently, but not that was still relevant today. Anyway, hope you guys are enjoying the pods so far. I think we're 15 away from the big 50, which is relatively exciting for me because 50 pods in 2 years. Woo! But no, it is a short week here in New Zealand. We do have Anzac Day on Thursday. Every single year, I think I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. and salute the army and everything that happened for the Anzacs. Always sleep in, which reminds me, this morning I tried to get up at 5:30 for a gym class. I was like, yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a class with other humans. Slept in. I had really sore jumpy legs last night, which just drove me crazy, and I didn't get to sleep till 2. And then the alarm went off at 5:30 and I just turned it off. Wasn't until 10 to 8 when I heard Mum shut the front door that I was like, shit. But no, these are the things that happen, and this is life, and that's fine. Other than that, I had a big catch up with my brother yesterday. He is doing huge leaps and bounds in his own private life at the moment, which is fabulous. I was sitting on the balcony with him just yarning away, and it was interesting because we have the same outdoor settings on our deck at home in Cromwell, and he has the same in Queenstown. And the chairs that we were sitting in, I hadn't actually sat in one since way back last year when I actually decided to stop drinking for 30 days, and my neighbour, the wonderful neighbour Wilson, came over and I drank a bottle of red wine, and I was sitting in this chair and I felt it extremely uncomfortable. I stayed in the seat for the sake of sitting outside in the sun with them, but I was very uncomfortable. And then yesterday when I was sitting on Tom's balcony, I was like, oh my gosh, you'll never guess, but look at this. And I stood up and the chair didn't come with me. The chair stayed on the balcony, and Mum was like, okay. And it was just such a really great, humble moment where it was the little things, and even Tom was just like, wow, this is crazy. And I think it is, because it's fitness and nutrition. It's not diet and excessive, non-eating, which I was doing so well in life, many, many moons ago, when I thought that was the choices I was going to have to make. And now here we are, where I'm just eating so much food and doing so much exercise, and chairs are falling off and they're not staying with me when I stand up. So yeah, massive win for us. Did we celebrate? Absolutely not. It's annoying because my brother lives next to a really, really delicious fish and chip shop. And the other day I saw an ad for KFC on the TV, and I flinched, and I said to Mum, oh, that actually made me kind of want KFC. And she's like, yeah, it's fine until you eat it and then you feel shit afterwards. And then being above the fish and chip shop, I was thinking, I really could do with some Kiwi fish and chips right about now. We're so close, 25 days to go. The celebrations are coming through the tunnel. I can see there's light. But these are the little things that we have in our lives that throw us off, and they try to do things like that. So I was like, oh, quick, get out of here. But no, that's where we're at with everything. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up here. I hope you guys enjoyed the laughter that came with Dolly Magazine. If anyone else has anything to add from the sealed section that they still think about now, obviously the demographic of people that listen to this pod are definitely from that era. I do have quite a few of you in Australia and New Zealand that enjoy flashbacks like this, so please reach out. I was going to do a question box to see if anyone had anything they wanted me to deep dive on the Dolly Mag, but 38 minutes here talking about it easy. These are some really fun random things that we get to enjoy. So anyway, enjoy the rest of your short week if you are in an Oceania type environment like Australia and New Zealand. If you are elsewhere in the world, take care, and I will see you hopefully in another week. Bye for now.